I'm Gab, he's Jules, back from Morocco, and it's blue skies over West London. I think bluer still over Anfield. We're going to get to that game, although a lot of other stuff happened. The big 3-0 winning in La Liga, Inter back on top in Serie A, the big Paris Saint-Germain, Lyon, John Texter. Oh, so close. But we'll get to that later. But let's start here, and let's start with the obvious question. Liverpool are 11 points clear of Arsenal, who do have a game in hand, and they do have the head-to-head at Anfield. Liverpool have 11 games left to play this season. Arsenal obviously have 12. The Gab rule says that when the number of points is greater than the number of remaining games, you will probably win the title. There are some riders on it, like the head-to-head, which Arsenal do have. So I will ask you now, are you ready to crown Liverpool?
Yeah, I don't think there's a way back for Arsenal, who have less goal difference, by the way. Plus,
I don't believe in goal difference.
Yeah, but it counts at the end if they finish level. But nobody's going to finish level with Liverpool. They've been in a league of their own pretty much from the start of the season. They've been way too good for the rest of the league. That hasn't been great, really. We said before it's not a classic season because outside of Liverpool, the rest haven't been always great. It's not a dig at Liverpool or dissing them. We don't take anything away from them and how great they've been. It's just been too easy. And this game on Sunday was too easy for them. Way too easy. They were too much in control for City.
So I take on board what you say. I am not ready to crown them yet because if Arsenal win their game in hand, and I know this takes a big leap of faith, if Arsenal win at Anfield, then the question becomes, can Arsenal make up 5 points in 10 games? I appreciate it's extremely unlikely, especially with the best on earth Kai Havertz out, as well as that Bukayo Saka
and
fella.
Especially how late that game is, because by then they might
it's
be
the third to last
anyway.
game of the season.
So they might be more than 9 points and it's be over.
But it's not impossible. Okay, so that's why I will wait a week or two to crown him. But yes, it's all pointing in that direction. And I've said how impressed I've been with Arne Slot this season. I've been impressed on him on the macro level. And just to remind you, this is a guy who has never worked outside of Holland. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who is replacing a legend. This is a guy who reinvented Ryan Gravenberch as a central midfielder. A 22-year-old who, let's face it, really hadn't, was promising, but really hadn't achieved much in his first season at Liverpool. A guy who's changed not just the system to 4-2-3-1, but the style of play as well, making them a bit more patient, a bit more intermittent, but still having the same intensity when they do press. Moved away from Klopp stylistically, no question about it. Done all this after a transfer summer where his only signing was my boy Federico Chiesa, who played all of 28 minutes this season in the league.
Yeah.
And he did it with 3 of his 4 best players, all free agents to be. That is an achievement for the ages, whatever happens. But then on the micro level, Jules, you were at this game. He changed the system, right? You've got 2, I thought, subpar performances in the last 2 games in the draws that they had. And he almost creates like a box midfield with Szoboszlai and Jones, split strikers out wide, Diaz and Salah. And it works. You've shielded the back 4. You've got the guy coming across to help out Alexander-Arnold, who got roasted time and again by Doku, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And in the end, you limit Man City, for all their 66% sterile possession, to an XG of just 0.65 on 66% possession. I mean, he outcoached Pep,
He outsmarted him completely. I mean, the Pep 4-1-5 system was suicidal. I mean, as soon as we saw the lineup, we were like... And by then, we got the lineup before you could even announce it because of the embargo on it. And we were like, why would Pep do that? Why just the Nico Gonzalez there and then De Bruyne and Foden and Doku and Savinho and Marmoush? It didn't make sense to play against a team like Liverpool with that system from a City point of view. It didn't make any sense. And to be fair, they were second best by far. And you're right, the 4-2-4 from Liverpool worked so great, so well, so narrow at times. And even when Doku roasted Trent or when Savinho, when Robertson, they could not create anything really. And I just think it was so comfortable for Liverpool from start to finish in this game. Salah was outstanding, even better watching him live than watching him on television. And just full control from start to finish. That second half, there was no game really.
Obviously, there are mitigating factors. No John Stones, no Erling Haaland. But I don't think they explain this sort of performance. And I think what's really interesting to me is that Pep is at the stage now where he's trying to find different solutions, different approaches, bringing back Doku. We saw him play differently in midweek against Real Madrid, but they're not working. All right, Jules, let's stick with this City theme because at one point I'm looking at the City defense, and it's Rico Lewis, Nathan Ake, Husanov, and then Josko Gvardiol, fine, right? And I see Nico in front of them, and I'm thinking, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do? And I go back to the broader City piece. I understand for 2 seasons, they made a lot of money, and kind of stuck with some of their veteran players. But somebody decided to bring these guys in, and I understand, or keep some of these guys around, like Nathan Ake. And I understand about building for the future. I understand about injuries. I understand all this stuff. But is this on Cheeky Begiristain, the soon-to-be departing? Is it on Pep? Because when it comes to team building, I see that at the back. I see Haaland, and then Alvarez leaves, and then you don't replace him for 6 months. And then you replace him with Marmoush with all the concerns that there are. And obviously Marmoush played in the front two, is not a Haaland-type player, which means when you play all the time with Haaland and then Haaland's not there, you have to change the way you play. How do we explain this?
No, we talked about it already before. Like, those feels like they were there for the future, and if everybody is fit, Marmoush doesn't start, probably. Kusanov doesn't start. Vitor Reis doesn't start. Okay, Nico maybe is the only one. But then if Rodri is fit, Nico doesn't start either. So if everybody's fit...
Yeah, but sorry. There's this everybody's fit thing, okay? City won a treble a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, right? Rodri played a bazillion games. Pep likes to change and mix and match his players. So this idea of a first 11, this idea of everybody's fit, doesn't really apply to Pep, because certainly at City, we've seen him. He's almost always had that squad where he's used, of course, 16, 17 players.
Yeah, but some players are still guaranteed to start.
No, I'm not disputing that. But if in that 16, 17 players, right, you go into the season with a bunch of guys who at this stage is pretty obvious he really doesn't trust, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, Calvin Phillips was the guy from the past, but, and there is an alternative to Erling Haaland. I don't understand what... I think somebody needs to give an explanation, and it can't be Pep all the time.
Yeah.
I think somebody, I think for all this stuff, I know City are seen as like, the dark arts of messaging, especially to do with financial fair play issues, but also in general, they have these very aggressive press officers and PR people who go and they spin lines. It's almost like Blake Lively and Baldoni at this stage, right?
Yeah.
The PR battle that these guys... Somebody needs to go out and say, what is the footballing logic behind this? Because it can't just be Pep on his own that has to go and explain everything continuously. And explain Grealish and explain this and explain, do you see what I'm saying? Like, why is this team put together the way it is?
Is
it really all down to Pep?
No, I mean, although I think he has a say in who they recruit.
He's a big say, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah. I don't know. I looked at Marmoush yesterday at the game, and... He's obviously still a young player. He's only 25, and even he's also young in terms of that top club kind of experience. But yesterday, and I know he plays on his own up front. There's no Haaland there, and he wants to do well. It's a massive game in Egypt. Like they were saying, that 100 million that were watching because it was Salah against Marmoush.
Isn't that literally the population of Egypt?
I don't know. They were saying no. There's more people than that in Egypt, but they were saying that it's the biggest game outside of the Egyptian country that people would watch, apparently. I don't know.
Zamalek against...
because it was the derby, Zamalek Al-Ahli on Saturday, and then on Sunday it was Salah v Marmoush, and that was absolutely drawing more people watching. So I know he wants to do well, but I watched him yesterday. He wants to go in every space, after every ball, in every channels, make the runs all the time, being on the ball all the time. And this is not how you play in a Pep Guardiola team. This is a very structured style of football. As we know, it's not for everyone, but it's a very structured, organized, maybe less now because of all their struggles. But this is not, he's a Bundesliga player playing in a Guardiola team that is everything but that. It's not, it's also well drilled, and he's not like that. So even that signing, we've said it from the beginning, okay, if you're playing in the front two, he minimize a little bit that aspect. But if he's on his own up front, he will do that, which is not at all the way the team plays. And yesterday, Foden never finds his place. I mean, De Bruyne is sad to see, but De Bruyne is gone. Marmoush was all over the place because this is what the kind of thing he does. And this team, outside of Doku going one-on-one and Savinho going one-on-one with their fullbacks, has just no purpose.
I think, I could be totally wrong. I have no evidence of this. I am speculating here. I think they thought Haaland was going to be back, and they did not prepare for Marmoush playing. Because
maybe, yeah.
First of all, I also wonder, like, and again, and I hate the fact that teams aren't truthful about injuries, right? And they don't. I know, GDPR, what right do you have to know? Well, fans, entertainment business, it's part of the freaking narrative, right? You're happy to take money from TV and media, right, to pay these big wages, but then you don't give any information. Or sometimes you give false information. I would love to know, if Haaland has a knock, right, what kind of a knock is it that keeps him out for this long, right?
No, the weird thing is that he traveled to Madrid and he was on the bench.
That's weird, right?
Yeah,
and then
so
now
he goes from being on the bench, so clearly must otherwise.
Give some information.
But Pep said that after training on Saturday afternoon, he said, they told me, so that's Pep talking, so they, I guess, is the medical staff, but Pep said, they told me that he could not play tomorrow, so on Sunday, and we're hoping that he can be there on Wednesday. So he must have trained or do something, at least. He must have done something. And the medical staff looked at it and said, it's too risky to even put him on the bench. I don't know.
But that what? Because he's going to get his buttocks are gonna go and freeze up. I know. I mean, but that to me though supports the thing that they did not prepare. They prepared with Haaland, right? And then all of a sudden, if he did train on Saturday, after training, Pep's like, oh look, there's no Haaland. What am I going to do? And I agree with you on Foden as well. Like, I have been critical of Foden because I hold him to high standard because he's a very talented player. He was player of the year last year, and obviously had his physical issues earlier this year. I felt for him a little bit because he really couldn't find the space. He was going into De Bruyne's spaces, and they were getting into each other's way, which shouldn't have happened. But then again, when De Bruyne was at his best, Foden was playing in a wider area. Yeah. Right? That balance, these are all things that Pep hasn't had a chance to work on. And I'm not saying it as an excuse to defend Pep, because obviously he doesn't need me to defend him. But I think it's really having an impact. It shows you the importance of actually working in training and working on patterns of play.
No, true, but it doesn't make sense. The team that he put up yesterday didn't make sense. It didn't make sense tactically. It didn't make sense. In the personnel that he put on that pitch. To have De Bruyne and Foden like that in that formation was pointless.
What did make sense was Jeremy Doku. As you know, I'm a big Doku fan. I didn't understand when, I think this was his first start in like a month. I don't understand it. I don't understand why I think I look at the people who've played ahead of him in that wide area, different situations. If you add in both flanks, you've had Savinho play ahead of him, you've had Grealish play ahead of him. I'm like, seriously? Unless there's some kind of fitness issue, which means he can only sprint for 20 minutes and then after that he's done. Will you miss a trick with the use of Doku this season?
I don't know, because I still find him highly frustrating anyway. Because yesterday there's some really good moments where his dribbling is outstanding, especially against Trent, who is not, as we know, a very good one-on-one defender. But then after that, the last pass or the decision making is so wrong, and he should be so much more influential in games than what he is. So then you're thinking, but also, does he really fit the style that Pep wants? There's a couple of moments in the first half where he goes past Trent and then turns back round and go and play back the ball towards Ake, and you're like, well, hang on, why don't you keep going forward? Because that's not Pep's. Pep's is still slow and intricate. Let's keep the ball, let's move it, let's do 1,000 passes. And Doku is not that kind of player. And that's why I think at times he preferred Grealish for that control, Bernardo Silva for that control, more than for Doku's directness in a way. Although yesterday he was the only one really that you could feel could create something.
I mean, again, if Doku doesn't fit your system, I go back to
Absolutely.
the signing of Doku. Doku's a relatively recent arrival, right?
Yeah.
Turning over to Liverpool, I think Liverpool looked tired. They certainly looked tired in the two games. That they didn't look tired against City, I think has to do with City. It has to do with the fact that City weren't able to jack up the tempo.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool, I'll say this now, I think Liverpool will have a dip in the coming weeks because I do think fatigue is catching up with them. I look at those two games before against Everton and against Villa, and to me that's more evidence. Well, we'll have a better idea against Newcastle unless Eddie Howe treats us to another one of his like 5-4-1s and, but it doesn't matter. He's managed the fatigue. And I think this is why Slot has done such a phenomenal job this season. If his players are tired going forward now, you can manage it. I don't need to see Gravenberch all the time. I don't need to see, maybe Virgil gets a day off. Maybe Konate maybe needs one a little bit more, gets a day off, right?
Yeah, I did. To be fair, I watched the Everton game, the Villa game. I didn't think they were tired. I think they were two tough away games against Everton. They conceded in the 90th minute. They could easily have won that game. They didn't play great.
They didn't play well, and they didn't play well against Villa.
It's not because you don't play well that you are tired. You can play not well, but not being tired. Tired is not a consequence of you not playing well. And
I think they struggled to match. They took a lot out of them to match Everton's intensity, and against Villa, I think a lot of it wasn't some brilliant game plan from Unai Emery. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Emery, but Liverpool have much better players in almost every position. And Emery had a bunch of guys missing as well, of course, at the back and in the midfield. I think it was because that sharpness that they had, I didn't think was there in certain key positions. And I don't think it's necessarily there. And it was okay against Villa. They may have a dip. They're still going to run away with it. They may need to go and focus on the League Cup, focus on the Champions League. But to have got this far is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's great. They've been great, but I think at times they've been a bit laborious in some of their wins too. They haven't always played great and always been demolishing teams. But I was not worried at all by the two draws that they've had. And that game, okay, City were bad and City are just average now. And it was easy for Liverpool. But I just expected that kind of performance from them, and I would expect another good one against Newcastle, and then they have a weekend off because of the FA Cup. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm always so impressed by them for one reason or another. It's not always because it's great football, but it's just the efficiency. Yesterday, they were so efficient. They scored 2 goals on 3 shots in the first half. Even now, they start putting together combinations on corners that work. And then there's Mo Salah. And Mo Salah is right now, I love Kylian Mbappe so much. But Mo Salah is just the best player in the world, and there's just nobody else in his league.
Are you going to tell Ousmane Dembele that? Because
I love Ousmane Dembele
a week ago.
He's my guy.
Now it's Mo Salah.
That's what l'équipe said, not us. But Mo Salah, I mean, 27 Premier League matches, 25 goals, 16 assists. I think he's probably the most impressive, best ever Premier League season for one player individually, better than the Haaland season, better than the Shearer seasons, the Thierry Henry seasons. This is.
Didn't Cristiano have a season where he scored like 39 goals or something?
In the Premier League?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think in the Premier League, I've never seen anything like that. 25 and 16 in 27 is just unreal.
All right, enough Liverpool. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Jared Bowen scores the only goal, and Miles Lewis-Skelly gets sent off as Arsenal lose at home to West Ham. Jules, Arteta says he takes full responsibility.
Yeah, it was a tough afternoon. Really, they just never got going, never played well. Mikel Merino starting as a number 9.
No,
definitely not. The red card for Lewis Kelly after a bad touch. I mean, it's definitely a red. I don't even know how the referee mixed it, to be fair, and VAR had to intervene. One of those days where you forget, it cost you, because I think had you won, that gap with Liverpool would be obviously smaller and they might still be in it, but now, and it's just you have to go to Forest on Wednesday, and that's going to be tricky. And even the PSV games now in the Champions League could look a little bit tricky too. So they just have to bounce back quite quickly, but this was not good at all.
A couple of things on this. One is, whatever, we've gone through this. They needed it. I argued you need another body at center forward. I made a list by the way. And I hope this isn't the case, that they were a little bit uppity, like, oh no, we don't take players on loan in mid-season, right? I made a list in my musings today about the number of, about the strikers who went on loan this January, all of whom I think would have at least been a body for Arsenal, from Ewan Ferguson to Randall Colomwani to Alvaro Morata. Nobody even asked about them, I'm pretty sure, right? That is a mistake. If you don't want to spend the money, I get it, because you spent all the money on Rice and Havertz and whatever. But to not have another body when you knew, you could have known that Kai Havertz was going to get hurt because he got hurt February 5th. You knew Gabriel Jesus was out. And that, I think, is wrong. In the same way that just because Mika Merino comes in off the bench and scores 2 goals, all of a sudden he's your center forward. Yeah. I don't know how he gets out of it. I feel for him.
Yeah. Luka Modric scores a worldie, and Real Madrid roll past Girona 2-0. Gab, this was a bit special.
Bit special on 2 fronts for me. One is the Luka Modric goal.
Lovely.
Somebody said that this could be the most beautiful goal he's ever scored for Real Madrid. I don't know. But to see a 39-year-old do this, perfect technique, perfect execution. Girona are really, really bad, although Thibaut Courtois had to make one big save, which could have potentially changed the game. I feel like Mbappe and Vinicius could have had a hat-trick each.
Yeah, Kylian missed like 4 chances.
And for me, the best bit of news, if you're a Madridista, is David Alaba starting and coming through the game.
Welcome back.
You need this depth between now and the end of the season. That hasn't changed. Bayern thump Eintracht Frankfurt 4-0 to stay 8 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga. Jules, Harry Kane started this one on the bench.
Yeah, he was not fully fit. Thomas Müller started. Bayern were great. I mean, he was in Munich, so I didn't expect Frankfurt to really trouble them. But still, it's a game that you had to win because Bayer Leverkusen won the day before. Olise was great. It took them a bit of time to score the first goal, and after that, it just it opened up for them. Musiala scored a goal that was a little bit lucky, but with still the swag that he has. I love seeing him dribbling. It's just so...
Wait, that was lucky, the way he beats all those guys?
Yeah, but still he gets a bit of a, the luck. But yeah, like good... I think they needed a good performance like this after the really bad game against Celtic.
And don't be fooled by the fact that several of these goals came very late. They were just dominant throughout.
They were very good from start to finish.
Against an Eintracht side who, I don't think have given up the ghost at all, or shouldn't have. I expected more from them.
Lautaro Martinez scores late to give Inter all 3 points against Genoa. And my boy Patrick Vieira, Gab, they're top again.
They are. They didn't know it at the time because of course, before Napoli lost the following day. This was a really, really tough game for Inter. What Patrick Vieira has brought to Genoa is organization, and he's brought intensity. Genoa play with an intensity that not that many Serie A teams reach for 90 minutes. And Inter struggled with that. Yeah, they're struggling with the fact that there's no Marcus Thuram because Joaquin Correa, who is not good, and then he gets injured and goes out. And then Mehdi Taremi goes on and causes chaos. A bit lucky on the Lautaro goal as well. There was a deflection. But he's there. And when people say Lautaro for the Ballon d'Or, which I think is excessive.
Yeah, please.
But you know what? If Inter win the Champions League, if they do the Serie A Champions League double, laugh, right? But, they were in the Champions League final not that long ago. Lautaro will be a big part of it. I think you can feel good, but all of this can be wiped away very, very quickly next weekend when they travel to the Stadio Maradona to take on Napoli. All right, Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Yes.
Manchester United come from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 at Everton. Jules, Ruben Amorim says United didn't play in the first half.
Yeah.
Are you going to praise Davy Moyes?
I would much rather... I don't want to talk about Manchester United. I've had enough of them anyway. I saw more bad than good in that game from them.
Lot more bad than good.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't even get the Amorim. Yeah, second half. I don't get that. But for Davy Moyes, and I'm not a big Moyes fan, certainly when he was at West Ham, and he knows that.
I am a David Moyes fan.
But the way he turned these Everton teams around, the way they play, the intensity, the willingness and the desire, all of that is great. He turned Idrissa Gueye into literally, N'Golo Kante in the best years of his life. Unbelievable. So great credit to David Moyes, I think, for the last few games, really.
And Abdoulaye Doucouré as well.
Oh, my boy Doucouré. They're Paris born and bred. What else could you say, And sticking with that game, Gabby, it could have been worse for United if referee Andy Madley's decision to award a penalty for Matthijs de Ligt Turgov Ashley Young's shirt had stood. Have you figured out why he was disallowed?
Okay.
Turnover?
this was wrong on so many levels, right? First of all, this stupid clear and obvious threshold. Obviously, this does not meet the clear. Whatever you think, this is not clear and obvious that was not a foul. Yes, Ashley Young throws himself on the ground because Ashley Young going to Ashley Young. Yeah, but there's a very obvious tug. And I presume this is what Andy Madley saw, because Andy Madley is a referee who's been around the block. He knows Ashley Young is going to throw himself to the ground and dive when he has the opportunity. So I presume he gave it because he saw the tug. Why the VAR intervened is a mystery to me, because you can clearly see the shirt being pulled on television.
Maybe they thought it was not enough to warrant the
dive. It's not a question of not enough. Pulling somebody's shirt, unless it's reciprocal, is a foul. You're not allowed to do that. You are not allowed to grab somebody else's shirt and pull him, right? I mean, I'm sorry. Have the laws of the game changed here?
No.
They haven't, right? So this is always a foul. So this is always a penalty. Except if they were both pulling each other's shirts, which they were not doing. So I don't understand this. I want to hope. I was watching Match of the Day, which is for those who don't know, is like the big recap here they do on the BBC, and they suggested that there's two replays from two different angles. And one of them, you can clearly see the shirt being pulled. On the other one, it's not so clear. They were suggesting that Andy Madley only saw one of the replays. Only saw one angle. I would hope this is not the case. Howard Webb, if you're listening, and I know you always listen, we need an explanation on this one. No, seriously, I need to know, because it's not going to make a difference. Everton are not going to go down as a result or whatever else. But this is just terrible. This is one of the worst uses of VAR that I can remember.
Yeah.
And Madley should have the cojones, by the way, to say, guys, is this all the replays we have? Because I know there's more than one camera.
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain make it 8 wins in a row, winning a wild one away to Lyon.
Oh, I mean, it was a good game the first hour, but Lyon didn't play. I mean, Paulo Fonseca messed up his starting team by playing Cherki as a false 9, which was never going to work against a team like this PSG team, and didn't work at all. And PSG were cruising 2-0 up. They could have been 4-0 up easily. And then Cherki pulls one back, it's 2-1, and then it gets a bit crazy because it goes 3-1 up for PSG with another Hakimi goal. He had 2 on the night. Then 2 amazing saves by Gio Donnarumma. One on the overhead kick by Mikotadze, by the way. That would have been an amazing goal.
That dedicated to all the haters and the moron who hired that stupid Russian weirdo with the man bun. Huh? You want to put pressure on my boy Donnarumma? This is how he rolls.
Yeah, that was 2 great double saves. And then even if Lyon scored the second goal, it didn't matter so much. So great win for PSG. And for Lyon, I kind of wish that Paulo Fonseca hadn't messed up the team and that they would have played like they did for the last 20 minutes from the start. Gav, you love your texter time. So I'm not going to do an impression of you going texter time, but did you like his cowboy hat?
I loved it. John Texter, this was brilliant. So for those who don't know, and sadly Jules wasn't here, in the summer, there was a lot of dispute between not just John Texter, but John Texter, our friend Joseph Julien on one side, and others questioning Nasser and Nasser Al-Khelaifi, and it's a discussion over conflicts of interest and whatever.
Exactly.
And of course, all of this the Zoom meeting all gets leaked because it's France.
Yeah.
And you get to hear the way these people talk to each other. And Nasser totally loses his cool. I think he's completely disrespectful to everybody else. Nasser doesn't seem to comprehend the idea of conflict of interest because he's the head of the European Club Association. He sits on the UEFA Executive Board. He runs BN Sport, and he also runs Paris Saint-Germain, right? Yeah. And he calls John Texter a cowboy. No, he says like
cowboy. Yeah.
You know, but it's not just a cowboy. He says like you don't
understand anything.
You don't understand anything.
You're not from here.
You're not from here. You're a cowboy from I don't know where. Yeah. First of all,
and Texter said to him, "You're a bully." He said, "Nasser, you're a bully anyway. You bully people." And then
he said maybe somebody other than Nasser. Can we hear from somebody other than Nasser? Yeah. He says at some point. So like I said, it's not just John Texter who was kind of acting that way. Everybody else was piling on. And so he wears a cowboy hat. And I say, well done.
At the game last night.
He loved it. He was so happy, smiling.
Nasser was not there because he was still in Doha with the other tennis tournament. And Texter after the game said like, it was it was a little joke. It was funny. I still respect Nasser. He can call me anytime. We need to discuss things and stuff like that. I don't think they will speak very soon.
No. Aston Villa beat Chelsea 2-1 as the loanees Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio combined twice. Jules, do you want to revise your assessment of Philip Jorgensen?
I mean, I still think he's better than Robert Sanchez. And to be fair, before his mistake, he made two really good saves, two big saves. But then it's not acceptable that you gift a goal like this, the winning goal as well to Aston Villa, the way Jorgensen did. I felt for Chelsea because it was a better performance compared to what we've seen in recent days. And in the end, that could cost you badly as well comes the end of the season. So bad mistake. Yeah.
It was a much better performance. Chelsea should have had. I think Chelsea deserves something from this game.
Yeah, definitely.
And rejiggering he has to rejigger everything. I've said it before, right? This is a badly put together team, and he has to rejigger everything. From Reece James in midfield, Neto at center forward, Cole Palmer switch out to the right. He's got to do this because for all their spending, this is a badly assembled team.
Yeah. Gab, the reason Inter are top, and we mentioned them already with the Lautaro goal, is that Napoli lost away to Cesc Fabregas' Como on Sunday. It's 4 games without a win now for Napoli. Why are they starting to slip?
Well, Assane Diao, by the way.
Oh,
what a
signing.
hit this guy is,
What a
19
signing.
years old. He is not, even though he is of African descent, but he is not Paris-born and bred. I'm told he was born in Senegal, and he's actually Spanish. He's an under-21 international on loan from Betis. Man, the guy makes everything look so easy.
Yeah.
Before that, mistakes, by the way, Rahmani, young players, when you play, the first one to finish your talk, if you're going to pass back to the keeper, don't pass it towards the face of the goal.
Yeah.
Long story short, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia is part of the reason, but he's not the only reason. Kvaratskhealia's last goal for Napoli was in October. His last appearance was in December. They went along fine for a while. It's just that without him and with David Neres injured, he feels the need to go to a back three, which I don't think works for this team. Napoli are 7th for expected goals this season. They are not creating enough. He's winning games. He's won games thus far by outworking the opposition and outmuscling them and whatever. You need to add this other dimension. So if you choose in a game like this to leave out Andre Frank Zambo-Anguissa because, you think, if he picks up a booking, he'll miss the Napoli game, and you play Philip Billing instead, and you have the twin towers, Billing and McTominay, you're not going to create much, even away to Como. And I think you underestimated Como as well.
Yeah.
Tottenham win 4-1 away at Ipswich as Brennan Johnson bags 2 goals. Jules, all well in Angeland now?
It was a good win in the end, although they could have been 2-0 down after 10 minutes.
Really threw this
they
away.
had a terrible start of the season, of the game, sorry. But then with the ball, Son was outstanding, maybe his best game in a while, and it's good to see Heung-min Son in that kind of form. Brennan Johnson with 2 goals. I like the movement from Matistel. I know he didn't score, but I think the team is really benefiting from him, and Donso has made a difference. Vicario coming back has made a difference. So I think it's 3 wins in a row in the Premier League, which is the longest winning streak in the Premier League.
Can I say something? That is one of the most, I mentioned this in my commentary, this is one of the most fugazi stuff. I saw that too, right?
But it's funny because that means
because it's stupid, because in between.
No, because nobody has been very good either. That's why.
No, but what I'm saying is in between, they got their backsides handed to them by Liverpool, right? In the FA Cup. And then they lost to Villa, right?
In the League Cup and then Villa in the FA Cup, yeah.
So, I'm not going to judge Spurs until Solanke comes back and until the center backs are in. Right, that is when we can start to draw some conclusions on Ange. Otherwise, this is kind of meaningless, in my view.
Dani Olmo scores a great goal and Barcelona win 2-0 away at Las Palmas. Gab, he turned this game after coming on.
He did, and it's funny. And look, I am not a Dani Olmo fan. I would not have signed him with his injury record, especially knowing the resources are so scarce at this club. Then you had all the nonsense, the registration, the non-registration. This is just not a player that they needed, or rather, they had much bigger needs elsewhere. But in a game like this against Las Palmas, who made things really, really difficult for them, Barcelona, I thought, were poor in the first half.
Very poor.
Obviously, Flick making some changes, looking ahead to the Atletico Madrid game in the Copa del Rey in midweek. He did something which I don't think any other Barcelona players, other than maybe Rafinha and Yamal, can do, which is that little spin, that goal, that creating out of nothing. Yeah. He brings that unpredictability where he can break games, he can break down defenses, and that's what he's there for. And I think this can be his role at Barcelona. Now, it's a lot of money to spend for a guy who does this role, but it can put you over the top. And Ferran Torres, my man, scoring another one in garbage time.
No bounce back from Milan, Gabi. They have a nightmare at Torino and lose 2-1.
Yeah, and the irony here, Sergio Conceição came out afterwards and he says, look, this isn't normal. because we dominated the game. Milan did create the better chances. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for them in the game. So I'll give them that. So Magic
Mike again
makes a less than magical clearance. You've got Malik Chow's big body in front of you, and you try to clear the ball. Obviously, bounces off and goes into the net.
Yeah.
You can say it's unlikely. You can say it's also stupid from Magic Mike on that occasion. Then Christian Pulisic misses a penalty, or more accurately, Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, who is the larger brother of the other Milinkovic-Savic. It's his fourth saved penalty this season, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
And whatever, they can't finish their chances. And then he finally takes off João Felix, who's clearly cramping Tijani Reinder's style. Who scores? Reinders score.
Of course.
And then they're all happy and telling each other, come on, let's go and win this.
Yeah, because it's 1-1 by then.
Because it's 1-1 at that stage. And then they don't realize.
A minute later.
Torino take a quick free kick, and then they're 2-1 down. Look, Sergio Conceição says, it's not normal. We did everything we could. Yeah, okay. You still have a Rafael Leao issue. You took him off at halftime. You still have a João Felix issue, which I think is very obvious to everybody except for him. And Theo Hernandez is still out there. And I want to know why. Well, maybe because he's suspended in the Champions League that you're not playing in until next year. A lot of people now, and again, this is how the media works and people saying things. A lot of people say that Milan had agreed to transfer him to Como in January. There was rumors of Como offering 40 million, 60 million for something crazy like that.
Wow.
And it was Theo Hernandez who turned it down. I haven't been able to confirm that, but it does sound like a way of putting Theo Hernandez down and making him seem even more unstable than he is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see him at the World Cup, am I? Theo Hernandez?
No, I think he would be in the squad, yeah. I think Deschamps likes him.
Why doesn't he act like that when he's with France?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Julian Alvarez scores twice, and Atletico Madrid win 3-0 at Valencia, Jules. He's up to 19 goals in all competitions, which is the same as he had last year.
Yeah, already the same. Slow start of his Atletico career. We've said that many times on the show. After the massive transfer with a big transfer fee, and now he's just repaying every penny, and he's in so much confidence in the team that plays so much on his strength too, and his partnership and relationship with Griezmann, who was involved in the 2 goals again as a second assist and an assist, is just wonderful to see. So that is working. Is it working enough to beat Real Madrid in the Champions League, for example, to win this La Liga title? It would be tight. They will make things difficult for everybody, and that was a good win because to go to Valencia and smash them like that was not going to be easy, I think.
I'm going to hold my hand up. I was a Julian Alvarez doubter.
Yeah,
I'm not the only one.
But
Pep Guardiola clearly was as well.
Yeah.
I was not, like, okay, great. You scored some goals and you won the World Cup, but you had that guy Messi playing with you. And you scored 19 goals last season for City. Okay, great. But, you're feeding off Erling Haaland scraps, and you've got De Bruyne and Foden and Bernardo Silva feeding you the ball. So, okay, sure. Certainly not 80 million worth.
Yeah.
However, Atleti, it's a bit different. You mentioned Griezmann. Other than Griezmann, I don't know if there's anybody there who's even in the same conversation as the people who were feeding him the ball last year. So he really has progressed. Simeone has gotten the best out of him, and that's a credit to him.
Dusan Vlahovic gets a rest and Juventus beat Cagliari 1-0. Gab, is he going to get more minutes?
I've said it all along. It should. They finished the game with Kenan, Vlahovic, and Colomwani in the front three.
Yeah.
To me, this makes more sense than what they have. Obviously, they've got more wingers.
That means no Conceição, though.
That means no Conceição, means no Bangula, means no Nico Gonzalez. Fine, but why do you have all these players, right? I don't see how Dusan Vlahovic cannot play. Because Colomwani, for all his issues, I don't know that is suited necessarily to be a lone center forward. Thiago Motta is trying to make Juve more vertical. We still don't have a 90-minute performance to. And Cagliari are not a good side.
Yeah.
They play for Juve play for one half. At least they're in top 4, and they haven't been top 4 for a while. So there's that. Marseille are furious after getting their backsides handed to them in a 3-0 defeat at Auxerre. Jules, Roberto De Zerbi, and Pablo Longoria had some pretty nasty things to say about that Dexter Cornelius sending off.
Yeah, especially Longoria, who's the Marseille president, because
Eva's little brother.
De Zerbi just followed. Ravanelli, who's a club ambassador, also said the same things. basically they have been unhappy with the refereeing in France for a very long time now. They've had statements, complaints, letters, everything. And in this game, they have a player sent off, Cornelius, for 2 yellows that are yellows. There's no doubt at all. Both of them are really yellows.
The second one was a yellow to you?
The high kick on the back of the player. It's more of a yellow than the first one where he tripped the player from behind. But the second one is a high kick.
Okay, you can watch this online. It looks to me like, okay, it's a weird uncoordinated motion, but he's almost like back heels the ball away. And then what's he supposed to do then? It looks to me like he tries to avoid the follow through.
It's a high dangerous, I thought, like high kick, really high foot.
Okay, high foot. You're keeping you just put your arm, for those who are watching this on video, at
It's
head
high.
level.
It's on the back of the Oxford player. I thought it was 2 yellows. They were not happy with the penalty they should have had. That's the one that annoyed them the most on Quentin Merlin, which potentially I think could have been given. But Longoria, there's a camera in the tunnels in France everywhere, and we saw him saying it's a corrupt league, it's a S league, like a crap league, many times. It's all about corruption. Those referees are corrupt, all about corruption. If the Super League comes, we're going straight away, which I can't wait to see them play with Anderlecht and Malmö.
And Real Madrid.
And Real Madrid, the only big teams, obviously, that are going to join, or Barcelona, maybe. So, it was not good. And he's going to get a heavy sanction and suspension.
To be fair to him, I mean, they were also upset, as I understand it, with the appointment of this referee as well, who was the guy who had the run-in with Mehdi Benassia.
Yeah, he was the 4th referee in the cup game against Lille.
And that cost Mehdi Benassia
a suspension. And the league
a 3-month suspension.
Well. Yeah.
So if you know that's happened, you know that there's previous there. I mean, I understand from, leagues you can't have clubs just vetoing players or vetoing referee appointments, but maybe not the smartest thing to do to.
Yeah, they complained before the game about that as well, yeah.
And look, Frank Leboeuf said on the show last night that Longoria has already apologized for this.
He said he regretted the word corruption and corrupt.
Well, he'd better regret it, because it's one thing to call somebody rubbish or incompetent. It's another thing to say he's corrupt.
Yeah.
You simply cannot do that unless you have evidence.
Yeah. Bayer Leverkusen rolled to a 2-0 road win away at Austin Kiel. Gab, it's nice to see Amin Adli again.
Yes, he scored the second goal there. Gives you something different in attacking midfield. Well, of course, Patrick Schick again. This is a total domination. Holstein Kiel are terrible.
Yeah.
But I want to make a point here, going back to the loans, right? Not to pick on Arsenal, but because you could say this about many teams. Xabi Alonso is in this situation halfway through the season. He brings 2 guys on loan, right? He brings Emi Buendia, good player, not getting playing time at Villa. He's another body. Mm-hmm. And Mario Hermoso, once okay player, not getting playing time at Roma. There's no shame in that. And they give you more options. And between Adli, Boniface, and Jonas Hoffman, who's on the bench, all of whom I think have been out since October, if not earlier, all these guys coming back, you get a mid-season refresh in the squad. You get guys who are highly motivated. Yeah. He did this last year with Borja Iglesias, and Iglesias eventually contributed nothing. But it doesn't necessarily harm the balance of the team, right? I wish more clubs, especially in the Premier League, consider doing things like this, because it really can help you if you have a confident, strong team. It's not going to disrupt the chemistry. You're not bringing in superstars. You're bringing in people who are highly motivated to work.
Yeah.
And I think, like, the league might be gone, but I think it definitely gives them a boost in Europe. Serhou Guirassy scores not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 goals as Borussia Dortmund smash Union Berlin 6-0. Jules, is this just flat track bullying, or do you see something there?
Well, I mean, Union have been bad all season, really. Guirassy has been in good form, scoring, assisting before. Some of those goals came really late as well for Dortmund for the 6-0 victory, but it was great to see him scoring 4 proper number 9 goals. Great service. Pascal Gross with 4 assists, I think, which in itself is quite rare as well. So overall, a great afternoon for Dortmund. Ademola Lookman scores twice, and Atalanta beat Empoli 5-0 to stay 3rd in the table. Gab Gasperini says he's unlikely to stick around when his contract is up.
Yeah, so there's two things going on. Look, and this is the irony. I mean, this is all on the back of what happened in midweek when Lookman missed that penalty against Bruges, and Gasperini came out and said, well, he's the worst penalty taker. He wasn't supposed to take the penalty.
Yeah.
Charles de Ketelaere was, and there was a whole debate there. The Atalanta fans, especially the ultras, showed what they think of Lookman, where they were totally supportive of him. He rewards him because he's a professional and he's a great player with those 2 goals. Gasperini as well showed the ability to move on. I mean, 5 goals away from home is a lot. Was he just throwing another hissy fit like Gasperini often does when he says, I'm not going to continue when my contract's up, maybe before, blah, blah, blah. We've achieved some great things. I want to win a title. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I think they can win the title this year.
Yeah,
frankly. I do think it's a legit 3-way race. I think from Atalanta's perspective, they were always going to try to cash in on Lookman in the summer. And at some point, I think they'll be ready to move on from Gasperini, maybe sooner rather than later. Lille beat Monaco 2-1 and passed them in the table. Jules.
Yeah, great win. They showed a lot of maturity in that game. That's what I like the most. Haraldsson with the 2 goals, the little prince. He's such a very interesting player in the way he does, the way he plays, the qualities that he has. I can see him going in, no offense to Lille, but to bigger clubs very soon as well. So really good wins for Monaco. It's the drought continues. Things are not happening for them.
So Haraldsson is the little prince, and Charles de Ketelaere is just the big prince.
The big prince, I guess. Yeah, he's much bigger than him. Leipzig got 2 goals down at home to Little Heidenheim before Lois Openda and Benjamin Sesko get it back to 2-2. Gab, more points dropped for them.
Yeah, more rubbish from Leipzig. I mean, look, to be fair to them, the first goal, an absolute worldie from Heidenheim. You won't see a cleaner strike this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Not the best goal because that's Luka Modric, but certainly a really well taken goal. The penalty was a little bit fugazi, but whatever. They come back, they get back into it. But if you're a serious club, you need to destroy Heidenheim at home.
Definitely.
And again, they didn't do that. It seems like, oh, look, we got our stats, and that's it. Openda and Sesko. You need to do more. You need to, I've heard such conflicting things on Jurgen Klopp and whether his is just an ambassadorial role to rack up air miles or whether he has any real power.
Yeah.
I think because he has professional pride, he might start knocking on some doors and maybe even knocking some heads here because both these teams need help.
Yeah.
Both as in Leipzig and Salzburg. Alexander Isak gets another 2 goals, but Newcastle get a late scare in beating Nottingham Forest 4-3. Jules, both these teams are in the Champions League places right now. Will they be there at the end of the season?
Great question. I think there's 6 teams between 3rd and 8th. So Forest to Villa in 5 points that can qualify for 3rd, 4th, and 5th place because 5th place will qualify you for the Champions League. So I think one of Newcastle will be there, I think, just about. And I'm not sure if Forest will, though. I think I can see them collapsing. It's another defeat for them. I think 3 in a row now, and they just don't look as solid and as good as they used to. Athletic Club de Bilbao smashed Valladolid 7-1. Gab, and Ernesto Valverde's team are flying.
They are. I checked on this. They haven't lost in the league since October 8th. And I think that was against Girona or somebody they shouldn't have lost to. Prior to that, I think they did lose to Atletico and Barcelona. That sort of race for 4th place, and by the way, in the end, maybe top 5 will make the Champions League. But that race between them and Villarreal, who also won at the weekend, really, really compelling.
Yeah.
Now, we always say this, the final of the Europa League is in Bilbao. That's a priority, whatever. Fine. But they're getting it done in the league too. Yeah. And they're building this nice momentum. And 2 goals from Nico Williams in that game, by the way. Feyenoord have a new coach. Robin van Persie leaves Heerenveen to take over. Jules, right move?
I mean, time will tell. I hope he succeeds, of course. I like him a lot. We've known each other for a very long time. It's a great move for him. Is it a bit early? He's only been coaching Heerenveen for 6 months since last summer. So this might happen a little bit quickly, more quickly than he thought. Maybe quicker than he thought. I don't know. We will see. It's a great squad to have. It's a good team that is still in the Champions League, that can't win the league, but is still playing, for the top 3 in the Eredivisie. So good luck to him.
Can I say something? I don't think it should be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed that you're coaching one team and then you just decide to walk out on them and you go to another team. It's not a knock on Van Persie. He can do what's allowed by the rules. In some leagues, this is not allowed. I find it ridiculous that there's gardening leave for freaking Dan Ashworth, right? But there isn't one for coaches who materially put out the lineup every week. Heerenveen are not that far behind Feyenoord. Yeah. This is an obvious conflict of interest. They were obviously negotiating for him for a while. It's not like they did it from one day to the next. Again, no suggestion of impropriety, but just this is a bad look. And I think the Eredivisie should look at changing this rule.
What is it with Serie A players, Gab, not following coach's orders when it comes to penalties? Tell us what happened between Lorenzo Luca and my boy Florian Thauvin this weekend.
Yeah, so Florian Thauvin is the captain of Udinese. They were playing away at Lecce. Thauvin, of course, was he at Newcastle?
Newcastle, yeah.
Was he one of the guys who rocked up wearing the stupid smoking jackets and the tuxedo before games? And when Newcastle were really bad?
I don't know.
And angered Alan Shearer?
I don't remember that.
Anyway, they absolutely adore him. He's 32 now. He's mature. He's a designated penalty taker. But Lorenzo Luca, who, by the way, if you've never seen this guy, he's like 8 feet tall. He's an absolute giant of a man. He goes and he takes the ball. And I think half a dozen Udinese players get in his face and say, well, they look up to him because he towers over them and says, no, look, it's Thauvin supposed to take it. Tauvin's supposed to take the penalty. And he's like, no, I'm taking it. Taking charge. Big man. Scores the penalty.
He better have, yeah.
And everybody turns away. He wants to celebrate with his teammates. Nobody celebrates with him. The coach, Kosta Runicic, who's done a phenomenal job at Udinese, immediately substitutes him.
Yeah.
And now everybody hates him. And to be fair to him, he took to social media in a post. This is a song lyric from a song that's very popular in Italy right now, which is, I wanted to show that I was a tough guy, but without others, I am a nobody.
Oh.
And he's right. You, as Nick Sirianni says, there is no greatness without the greatness of others.
Sonia Bonpastor has revealed that she's been in a 13-year relationship with her assistant coach, Camilla B, and that they have 4 children together. Gab, is this something she should have revealed earlier?
I mean, Camilla Abili is her employee. And in any company, when there are workplace relationships, you need to disclose them to your employer. What's not totally clear here is, when we were talking off air before, and you said, well, everybody knew. Is it a don't ask, don't tell situation? They've been together for 13 years. Maybe 13 years ago, it was a slightly different landscape as well for women who are in these kinds of relationships. It's certainly, put it this way, if anybody at Chelsea did not know ahead of time, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Whether they needed to sign an official disclosure form, the way presumably we would have to working at this company, I don't know. So it comes down to how comfortable they were. It's clearly not necessarily conflict of interest, but it's clearly something that people need to be aware of. And I don't know. I'm also kind of amazed that I know sometimes spouse partnerships work. I mean, not just in football, but in real life. It does seem to be like you're kind of taking work home with you, right? Just from that perspective. I mean, they must really have a really good vibe together if they can have a whole private life and a work life together all the time. I mean, but they see each other 24 hours a day, basically.
That's
right?
true, yeah, exactly.
Al Nassr lost to Al Ettifaq on Friday, Jules. They're 5th and 11 points back, which means I'm guessing they won't be winning the title. Cristiano Ronaldo did not take this defeat well.
No, and especially there was John Duran being sent off right at the end. It was a bit of a crazy game. John Duran kind of clipped the back of an Al Ettifaq player who made like a meal out of it, really. He gets sent off. Cristiano, I think, frustrating with a red card and maybe a bit of John Duran, who's had a great impact since coming over from Villa. Frustrated, kicking booting the ball away. And you're right, that means the 11 points behind Al Ittihad, who won the big game of the weekend against Al Hilal, who were second in the table. Karim Benzema, Laurent Blanc, running away now with the title. So it won't be Cristiano's again this year, or Al Nassr's.
I like the fact that he booted the ball away, that he cares, that he's angry, that he's competitive at this age. He's not just sitting there counting his money. And the man is 40 years old.
The Istanbul derby kicks off in a few hours on Monday, with just 3 points separating Galatasaray from Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce, Gabi. This match will be officiated by the Slovenian referee Slavic Vinci, and some are unhappy with that.
I think that is that is an autocorrect. His name is Vincic.
Vincic.
Yeah, so Mourinho's happy with it, and it's this whole thing. We don't like the referees. They're, I don't think anybody came out and said that they're biased and corrupt like they did in France.
Yeah.
But this idea
almost.
What?
But almost.
Yeah. Let's turn to a foreign referee. And it's not a question, I think, of experience, because there's some, highly rated Turkish referees here. It's not like, we see this like years ago, referees from the Premier League, from Serie A, from La Liga, they might fly out to Gulf countries to officiate games because they're considered the best in the world. No, this is to do with Vincic doesn't give a crap about Galatasaray or Besiktas or Fenerbahce. Look, he's totally unbiased. So this is why he's been brought in. Mourinho thinks it's wonderful. Obviously, he would. And Galatasaray, of course, have to take the opposite view. They've taken some legal action. I don't think it's been successful as we record this on a Monday morning, but they're saying that basically these allegations pit brother against brother. Oh. I have to say, I am in favor of allowing foreign referees, and I think it's ridiculous. There's still this protectionism. It's the last vestige of football, right? Where, I'm not saying it's impossible to have foreign referees, because of course Jared Gillette's Australian, but they make it extremely difficult for referees to go work abroad on a regular basis. In this case, when you're doing it because you think your homegrown referees are inadequate or corrupt, and you're a major footballing nations like Turkey, I'm sorry, that is a stain. And I kind of tend to side with Galatasaray on this one. Quite the opening weekend in Major League Soccer, Jules. Lionel Messi bags 2 assists as Inter Miami go a man down after 23 minutes and a goal down early in the second half in a 2-2 draw away to New York City FC. Messi sets up Telco Segovia's equalizer 10 minutes into injury time and then rages at the referee post-match.
Great game.
Gets booked.
Yeah, I guess, but a great game from Messi. I mean, the assist on the second goal in like the 100th and whatever minute it was great after being for 10 minutes. Not that he ran much with 10 men for an hour, but still, in quite a crazy first weekend, because the Galaxy lost on Sunday night, the reigning champions. There was loads of goals, there was everything, and I guess for Inter Miami, considering the circumstances of that game and going down to 10 men so early, you take the point, I guess.
Yeah, and this is also just a couple of days after being frozen to an icicle to death, status in KC.
Exactly.
I love the fact, whether it's Messi, whether it's Cristiano, these guys who get angry.
You still,
they still get angry. Honestly, Messi's not there on whatever you think of him. Messi's not there on holiday. But I just hope we didn't get other bookings, because then he'll get suspended and people will be denied the chance to see him play.
No, that's true. Gab, reportedly there are more cuts coming at Manchester United, but you have a reminder for the supporters.
Yes, the excellent God of financial blogger Swiss Ramble sent a long thing about the cuts and kind of get it's a subscription newsletter. I think it's worth your time. It's not that geeky and in the weeds. I mean, some bits are, but you get the general picture about all the issues of Manchester United. Some of them we've become immune to. And one that I'm just going to keep reminding people of is Manchester United are paying £19 million a year in debt servicing for the privilege of being owned by the Glazer family.
Yeah. And I've done so for a very long time.
And have done so for a very, very, this is interest, which doesn't need to be there, which is there, which the club pay, right? So please, Manchester United employees who might have been laid off, might have families, might be having their Christmas bonus replaced by the stupid Marks and Spencer's voucher or Ineos merch. Just think about that. All right, on that sad note, Jules, we got to say goodbye, but we're going to be back on Thursday. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.